Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's Zola.com.
Hello and welcome to the Bad Taste Crime Podcast. I'm Vicky.
I'm Rachel.
And we are back again.
Hi.
With another story.
Another one.
If this is your first time listening, a special hello to you.
Oh my God. Hi.
How are you doing, Rachel?
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
I wish you were wearing your new hat.
We were just talking about our winter. I try to pick up like a winter hobby.
Yeah.
Because frankly, I do spend a lot of time inside, but like I spend way more time inside in the winter.
Because it's
fucking
chilly.
hate the winter. I'm not a winter person.
No, me neither.
It's not my season. So I stay inside.
And it gets cold here.
Yeah, it does get it's already gotten very cold here.
Too cold.
So I decided to pick up crocheting as my winter hobby. And I've already made 2 hats.
2 hats. Count them.
And I'm in the middle of the third.
Yes.
For like some Christmas gifts. And it's going swimmingly. But this is not one that I made. The hat that I'm currently wearing.
It's inferior.
Everyone has asked me that because I will just wear this inside. Depending on where I'm going, I'll just wear it around. Because frankly, I don't like my ears being cold.
I thought you were just going to say, I don't like my ears. And
I just don't like my ears being cold.
Perfect.
No, they're fine.
I was
They're
so
fine.
sad.
I just like my ears being warm.
That's fair.
So
fair enough.
I'll just wear it around. But I've had I brought up this winter hobby and people are like, so did you crochet that one? I'm like, no.
It's got like one of those like leather tags on it.
Also, these are all like good friends of mine. And I'm like, you've known me for a long time and I've had this hat at least 3 or 4 years.
Okay, well, it is just like a gray beanie. It's not like super distinct.
Yeah, but it is my signature hat. It is the only one that I wear in the winter.
I've never, listen, I've been to your apartment many times. I don't look in your closet. How do I know you don't have like 87 identical gray beanies?
That's
I don't
true.
know that.
I will now.
And I would never assume.
I definitely will now because I can just make them myself. Different styles, different.
We're like, what did you
stitches.
make this week, Vicky? You're like 37.
It's been honestly really nice because I just put on recently. I've been watching Family Guy as like my background
I've
show.
been doing American Dad. That's so funny.
I just finished watching American Dad again.
American Dad.
So I just chuck on some Family Guy, sit there and crochet. Yeah,
such good
really
background noise.
Yeah, have my little coffee in the morning.
Yeah,
I can't do it too early in the morning because like I need to wake up and be able to like focus.
I was gonna
in.
say that's a lot of like counting. Don't you have to count the stitches?
It depends on what you're working on.
Okay.
Where I'm at currently, I don't because I'm like working in around, but you have to like pay attention to where you're putting your stitches, that takes me a little more effort than
local doctors in my area say I'm deficit in attention. So I don't know if that's going to be good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am too, but I have hyperfixation, so it's wicked awesome.
Oh, that's fair. Wicked.
We're not going to talk about Wicked. Anyway, so we are going to move along and head over to the newsroom.
Ooh.
breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad.
So this week, our news is about a subject very near and dear to my heart.
Oh.
And longtime listeners of the show will know that this is like my OG got me started cult.
Oh my God.
But if anybody is familiar with Jonestown and the People's Temple, Guyana is now looking to turn the area where they were at into a tourist attraction.
I don't like that.
I think, well, here's the thing. So for those that don't know, it was the largest, they call it a suicide murder.
Yeah.
900 people, over 900 people were poisoned. A lot, most against their will, I would say.
And some were shot.
In Guyana.
Yes.
And this happened long time ago. So the tour operator who was looking to do tours operating in this area is backed by the government. They want to open the property of the former commune to visitors, which is a little tricky.
Yeah.
Some people, obviously, and I think this is your feeling, feels like it's disrespectful to the victims and sort of like, why are you looking now to dig up this awful past event?
Yeah.
I'll also say too, like the property is overgrown.
Completely.
Because you have to realize in Guyana where it was at is like in the middle of a forest. So to
It's
even
super tropical.
build the commune, they had to cut down and demolish like so much vegetation.
That's when you were saying that. I was
Yeah.
like, how much of it is even left? Like,
yeah, I think the
habitable?
Buildings are still there, but everything
can you
has
get to them. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There is there are some people who are saying that yes, it's disrespectful, but at the same time, like it also provides this opportunity to provide context for what happened.
Right.
And
maybe money for
the government of Guyana.
Right.
Yeah. And they do have every right to do this. I mean, it is their land, right? But like,
area.
I kind of view it, and this is not like a direct comparison, right? But like thinking of places like Auschwitz that are sort of these tourist attractions, but it's more of an educational
That's true.
sort of thing.
I guess like it depends on we'll have to see how they go about it.
Yeah.
If it's like, come and learn about this awful thing that happened, then it's like, okay, it's like, come and see the museum. But if there's a gift shop,
or is it just going to be like
not
death
cool.
tourism?
Right.
And there is also like, it's not a close place. The tour would have to ferry people in to this part of the jungle. It's only accessible by boat, helicopter, or plane or rivers. Like you can't get there by roads. So like,
oh my gosh,
it's not just like a place where you can just like walk up, pay to get a ticket or whatever. Like you would have to actually like book and travel and do all this other stuff.
Well, that could definitely be good money for the region. I guess it just depends on how they go about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like arguments 2 and 4. And there's a lot of people on both sides saying like, this is horrible. Like, why would you try? Like, what purpose does this have? What benefit does this have to the area?
That's interesting.
But the government's tourism authority and Guyana's Tourism and Hospitality Association are all backing this idea because, like you said, it would bring a lot of money to the area.
Yeah.
So we will see.
Yeah,
I don't
was gonna
think
say.
that. Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything has necessarily been decided one way or the other. It's sort of in
limbo
proposal mode. Yeah, I'm just double checking.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a little surprised that
they haven't done it already.
That's
kind of what my thought was, because I was like, I guess it is just still like in the jungle.
Yeah, because this happened in like I want to say it was the late 60s, early 70s when this happened.
I think 70s.
So like, it's been a minute. It's been a while.
And it's really not that different, as I'm thinking about it, than a lot of Like,
Yeah.
it's really not that different.
Yeah. But there is definitely a fine line between like death tourism and like educational tourism.
Oh, completely. As long as it's educational.
Yeah. Curious to see what will happen there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, we are going to move on to Netflix and Kill, which this week is a Max and Kill.
Max.
Because we are talking about a documentary series on Max called Breath of Fire. It is
I haven't heard of this one.
It is, you would find this very fascinating.
Ooh.
It's about this sort of yoga cultish type deal.
I'm in. Love it.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, this is very much your shit. Specifically, this woman who calls herself Guru Jagat. And
is she white?
She is a white woman.
They always are. Go on.
She is a white woman who wears a turban.
Oh my God.
And she talks about like her spiritual teacher, Yogi Bhajan. And he was like, when they lead, okay, oh my gosh, okay. So basically they lead this group of people who practice Kundalini yoga.
Okay.
Which is a lot of like breath work, a lot of like.
Oh, fire breathing, breath of fire. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
And he is sort of, I don't want to say credited because apparently Kundalini yoga is like not a real thing.
I was going to say.
Practice it. Right. He's sort of from what I can gather, credited with bringing Kundalini yoga to the West. Yogi Bhajan. But like in his time sort of watching over this group, he was accused of sexual abuse.
Shocker.
Right.
I'm
and
shocked.
he in a very similar way to the guy who ran the yogis in the West. Like oh my gosh. It's the people who did the salmonella stuff. Who is it?
Was it Children of God?
Not Children of God. We literally had this exact same conversation like 4 episodes ago. And I can never remember.
I
anyway,
can't either.
The Krishnas.
Oh, Hare Krishnas. Duh.
Yes. He like in a similar vein to that, like Yogi Bhajan was very much of the opinion that like in order to be successful in the second life, like you needed to accrue wealth and like have all of this lavish whatever. And he leaves. Guru Jagat, this white woman, kind of comes up, takes over running this with this like shadow guy behind her.
Ew.
And sort of modernizes it into this like millennial vision of like being on Instagram and like having videos and streaming on YouTube and
back to the flirty fishing, bringing more people in.
Yeah. And it is very, of course, they always say it's women centric.
Yep.
There's a lot of female empowerment, but like, it's not.
Is it?
It's not. Yeah. And it sort of explores her time.
Interesting. Gross.
Yeah, and it's based on this article from Vanity Fair, which I always feel like is good. Vanity Fair does very good reporting. My opinion.
No, I'm listening.
I think that. But they have a lot of like really hard hitting like articles that turn into documentaries. This is one of them.
They do.
So it's called Breath of Fire. It's on Max. It's very interesting. There's a lot I'm not saying because I don't want to give it away, but like that kind of gives you an idea. It is this they have former members that are interviewed. Her parents are interviewed. There's like taped a lot, obviously because this is streaming online. There's a lot of classes and recordings and videos of her, and the woman who wrote the original Vanity Fair article is in it. And so like her recordings from her interview with Guru Jagat are...
That always makes me happy.
In there too. So
like the OG.
Yeah. And I think it's like 3 or 4. It's 4 episodes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. It's not too bad. It just wrapped up in November. I was watching it as it came out. It was really interesting. It's really, and this is a group that I had not heard of. So
I love that.
Definitely check it out.
I hate them.
Yeah. But definitely check it out. It's called Breath of Fire on Max. This is that part of the show where we say content may not be appropriate for all listeners.
May not.
We are talking about instances of murder.
Yeah, murder.
Lots of murder.
I'm trying to remember. I think I might like mention sexual assault, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I might have a mention also.
Yeah, but it's not. I won't go graphic.
But it's sort of your basic murder podcast.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Just base that.
Yeah. So this week we are talking about highway killers.
Yeah.
A topic, frankly, that I don't think that we have covered on the show in a while.
Oh,
I know it was in like one of our first 20 or 30 episodes I think we covered, but that was This is 192.
This was BR before Rachel.
Yes, before Rachel. Yeah, it's true. I can bring all those topics back now. So we are talking about highway killers. And this week, I want to just start off with the story of John Fontenberry. So John Fontenberry was originally born in Connecticut in 1963 into what sounded like a very dysfunctional family.
Oh, dear.
Very dysfunctional household. Shortly after his sister was born, his parents divorced.
Okay.
His mom would then go on to marry another 2 men.
Oh, dear. At the same time?
No.
Is this Connecticut or Utah?
Yeah. So I do want to preface this by saying that it appears like a lot of the information about Fontenberry's childhood comes directly from him, from later testimony. That's not to say it's not true.
So just a grain of salt.
Grain of salt. I always say that when it's, but a lot of it.
Everything needs salt.
There was a lot of stuff that was corroborated by testimony from friends of the family.
But
also.
no, that's important to note for sure.
Yeah. So according to an article in the Cincinnati Enquirer, quote, young Fontenberry, who was illegitimate, was told by one of his mother's 3 husbands that he wasn't even as good as the dirt in the driveway. He was rejected by his stepfathers, his grandparents, and his birth father, according to a family friend. He was an outcast in his own family. John was, and he would stay that way.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. He definitely was and I think it was because he was an illegitimate.
Right.
Hey,
I'm also an illegitimate.
Yeah.
Illegitimates rise up. Bastard nation.
Yeah. But you weren't I mean, I will say you lucked out and got into a very loving family. There's a lot of things you can say about your parents, but they love you.
No, for sure. But it's just funny. Sure. It's just oh my God, that was such a big deal. And it's well, I have teenage parents who are neighbors. So
yeah, right.
And I've done okay.
You've done all right. Yeah. So not a great start for him.
Poor guy.
The same article recounts what Fontenberry said of his childhood himself, that he was, quote, beaten as a child for referring to potato salad as tomato salad, end quote.
Oh, that's just adorable. That also sounds like a nightmare as someone who hates tomatoes. That sounds gross.
I know. The thought of that is, it's salsa. I mean, tomato salad really is just going to be salsa, right?
Good. Now I like it again.
But potato salad and tomato salad are 2 very different things.
Yeah.
Or maybe what is that? Oh my gosh. What is that thing with the tomato and the mozzarella and the balsamic? Bruschetta.
Yeah.
Like a bruschetta salad, maybe?
Bruschetta. Okay. I don't like that either, but I know what it is.
Yeah. But you like salsa.
Yeah.
That's tomato salad.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. That is.
Yep. So this is, again, from the Enquirer, quote, he said as a child he would use an imaginary hammer to nail the blanket around his sister at night so no one could get her. He would get in bed and do the same for himself, end quote.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So this poor guy. I'm sure he's going to go on to do bad things, but I feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're right on both accounts.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh. Fontenberry moved around a bunch as a kid as well, spending time between Ohio and Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
His first run-in with the law happened after he stole a 1968 Chrysler in Atlanta, eventually being caught in Alabama when he ran off before paying for gas.
Listen, John, you have to pay for things.
Nah.
John, that's
in Alabama? I don't think so.
No, that's fair. They do not have laws in Alabama. It's just a free-for-all.
So when Fontenberry was 22 in 1983, his mom died from cancer, sending him into a complete spiral of drugs and alcohol. She literally was the only person in Fontenberry's life that did not deny him, that did not disown him or...
that's good, but I think she should have told her husbands, be nice to my son.
I agree, but
that's what I say.
Even in this is 70s and 80s.
Well, I know.
Especially the culture of abuse.
I know.
Domestic abuse that was happening then.
You're right.
What was that?
No. So sad. That was it.
Yeah. So I get it, but it really affected him because she was literally the only person in his life that loved him unconditionally.
Sad.
Yeah, so he got on the booze and drugs.
I get that.
He was also just on this path of general distrust of anyone and everyone, that
understandable,
sort of started moving into this paranoia. Like, it wasn't just like, I don't trust people. It was like paranoia that people are out to get him.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of it, I would think,
that's
I'm no expert, but like,
trauma.
Trauma for sure. Because like everybody
And
disowned
drugs.
him.
Yep.
and drugs.
Yeah.
So in order to support his lifestyle, Fontenberry bounced from job to job as a long-haul trucker, which allowed him to travel the United States.
Uh-huh.
But they often did not last very long because he had a habit of being fired for negligence and poor performance. I would assume owing a lot to drinking heavily.
They don't like it when you do that.
Yeah.
Even in Alabama.
Well, and that results in being late for work or just, not great. Now, during this time, Fontenberry had a couple more run-ins with the law. In Ohio, he had been charged with carrying a concealed weapon in his car, receiving 3 years probation. He was also fined on an unrelated assault charge.
Okay.
Now, following those, like, wrapping up in Ohio, Fontenberry moved to Oregon to live with his father.
Okay.
But... yeah. Okay. So he moves.
Place.
I was looking to see if I included this or not because it's one of these things that I'm like,
Yeah.
So he moves to Oregon to live with his father. As soon as he moves in, and his father was married to another woman. Okay. So he has a stepmother. As soon as he moves in, the father moves out. He like just leaves. Lets John live in the house. He moves out, but it sounded like the stepmother stayed because I saw reporting that he had an affair.
Stop it.
With his stepmother.
Ew.
Well, it was the
John.
whole thing. But as soon as he moved into the house, the father
was like, bye.
Peace.
Oh my God, how awkward. It's just like, oh, so you're my new stepmom. Hey.
Yeah, but he was also like in his 20s at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like early 20s. I mean, he's still a young man, but
what is happening?
So
That's
strange.
a lot.
Yeah. So once he moved to Oregon, again, this is from the Courier News quote. Police in Ledyard, Connecticut charged him with creating a public disturbance, and he was fined $40. State police said he was arrested at a local residence, but would not be more specific. So this, I think, was when he was traveling trucking, like in other states.
Yeah.
You will find that there's like, we're going to talk about a lot of places today.
That makes sense.
Highway killers.
Travel a lot of distance. That makes sense.
In November 1990 is when Fontenberry moved from petty crimes to murder. After meeting 47-year-old Donald Nutley at a truck stop in Troutdale, Oregon.
Okay.
During their conversation, Nutley disclosed that he was going to Mount Hood for target practice, which is just like I got the impression that it was like a forest preserve type area.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely in nature.
Yeah.
Fontenberry offered to go with him, and the two left. And this was the last time that Nutley was seen alive. Nutley was a missing person until April 1991, so the following year, when his teeth and skull were found with a bullet hole. They were all discovered in sort of a nearby wooded area.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh no, I wonder what happened.
At this time, and I think when they found him originally, they did not have,
they were kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they really had any leads.
Yeah.
Fontenberry then headed towards Bloomsbury, New Jersey, where in February 1991, he met 27-year-old trucker Gary Farmer. In later testimony, Fontenberry claimed that Farmer had made unwanted sexual advances on him. So he killed Farmer and robbed him of a watch, a knife, and $40. Yeah. It was
bet it had a lot more to do with the watch, the knife, and the $40.
He came on to me. So
Killers always say that. I'm like, you're ugly. Nobody is coming on to you.
Yeah, he is not cute.
No,
I'll say
but they
that.
never are. They're always ugly.
He's pretty gross. He then left Farmer's body in the sleeping compartment of the truck where it was discovered 4 days later.
Well, yeah. Ew, stinky. You're going to have to get a bunch of those little vent clips. Air that out.
Breeze.
Yeah, the little trees.
It took a few days before authorities were able to identify the body because obviously he stole his wallet.
Oh, poor guy.
The authorities were then able to create a sketch of their suspect. and it was released to the public. So they must have gotten like video or interviewed some people around. Also, like truckers
like they watch.
Right.
And there's a lot of cameras at those places now.
Yeah. And I think if you're traveling certain routes, you probably see some of the same people at like truck stops and stuff, right?
Yeah. Yep. And they all have those radios and stuff where they talk to each
hams,
other. Yeah.
ham radios.
Breaker 199 whatever. I don't know.
Whatever.
I probably just said something terrible in trucker language. Sorry, truckers. I didn't mean what I said unless I did.
17 days later, 45-year-old Joseph Darren Jr. was dropping his daughters off at their mother's house in Union Township, Ohio.
Okay.
It appears that at some point on his way home, Darren spotted a hitchhiker and decided to pick him up. The hitchhiker was, of course, John Fontenberry,
Man,
who had just left his sister's townhouse where he had been staying. Now, according to police, Fontenberry became upset after overhearing his sister and her fiance complaining about him living there for free and just like being a freeloader.
he's like, I'm going to go kill somebody else because I'm mad. It's like, what if you went and got a job?
What if?
Channel all this murder rage into a hobby, like crocheting.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm just channeling my rage.
Make little like trucker caps.
I'm channeling my rage into hats and scarves.
I love that. That's beautiful, Vicky.
So he is like, well, fuck these people.
Yeah.
Leaves the townhouse and poses as a hitchhiker. Gets picked up by Darren. And at this point, he decided to kill Darren and rob him. Fontenberry left Darren's body in Anderson Township, Ohio, and took off in his 1988 Subaru. Returning to his sister's house, where she reported seeing him load up the Subaru with his possessions.
Okay.
So he stole the car and then went and was like, well,
My car now.
yeah, you guys want to bitch about me living here for free? Fine. I'm packing this stuff up in my
you say
stolen
I don't
car.
do anything? I have a new Subaru.
Look at this new Subaru I got.
It's like dripping with blood. She's like,
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. So he shows up in the Subaru, packs all of his possessions up. He then heads west, traveling through Ohio, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Wyoming, and Utah, even using Darren's credit card a total of 25 times.
Oh my God. Darren's bank needs to like get it together. Nobody was going to be like, hello?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you bought all these things?
Especially the fact that it's like a trail across the United States.
Yeah, really.
Like,
It's like, hey, Darren, we're just calling to check. Did you order a how to murder guide at this gas station in Ohio? Like, what? 20 to 30 times.
Yes.
Get out of here.
he eventually ended up back in Portland at the end of February, where he met 32-year-old Christine Ann Guthriat at a party. Or, I'm sorry, Guthrie. Guthrie at.
I was like, this is a fancy name.
Guthrie at, yeah.
Guthrie
at a party. After talking for a bit, Guthrie said she would go with Fontenberry to the Silver Sands Motel in Rockaway Beach. The two checked in and were seen together by the motel manager, but they could not remember if they had seen the two of them leave together. Like, they were both busy when they checked out in the morning. Like, they checked out and just left. So they don't remember, like, was he with somebody? Was he not? Spoiler alert, they did not, in fact, leave together.
Right, yeah.
That was the last time Guthrie was seen alive. Her body would be found about a month later in the logging town of Timber, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
She had died from multiple gunshot wounds to her head. Now, after leaving the hotel, Fontenberry went to SeaTac, the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, where he abandoned Darren's Subaru, presumably with all of his stuff inside.
Oh, bye.
Left on a one-way ticket to Juneau, Alaska.
Oh.
So he goes to the airport, leaves the car with his stuff, buys a one-way ticket to Juneau, Alaska, gets the fuck out of the contiguous United States.
Bye. And hopefully he spent the rest of his days crocheting trucker hats and watching bears in his front yard and not killing people.
I'm also like, listen, I get people go to Alaska to sort of disappear, right?
Yeah,
like, that's not uncommon.
Totally.
For people to go to the end of the world. So
yeah.
just not be found anymore. But like, I am also like, the last fucking place I would go to is Alaska because I wouldn't be able to live there. Period.
Yeah.
Like, it is not for me.
It's too cold.
Way too cold. All the time. And too dark. Too dark. for too
I
long.
think that's kind of cool. Like,
Half the year in
novelty
darkness?
of it, like,
No.
excites me, but I don't think I would be able to live there forever.
Yeah, but they talk about that a lot, leading to like psychosis.
Okay, well,
And I'm like, that's cool. Love that.
there's a lot of psychosis here
Yeah.
in these cornfields too.
It's true. It's true. Also, did you watch the Frozen Country? Was it Frozen Country? The True Detective season with Jodie Foster?
I didn't.
And
I've only seen the first season.
It's first of all super good,
Yeah.
but also was like, that's another reason I don't want to live in Alaska. Fuck all of that. All of
They're
that.
part of the anti-tourism board.
And that whole season takes place during the half a year of darkness.
It did look cold in the commercials.
Very
and
cold,
dark.
very dark.
It's like that vampire movie, 30 Days of Night. Did you ever see that?
No.
It's so goofy.
When he arrived in Juneau, Alaska, he did manage to find work on a fishing boat and began living at a hotel.
Okay.
Fonberry was there for around 2 weeks while hanging out at a local bar after getting fired from his boat job.
John.
He met 39-year-old Jefferson Diffie. The two men began talking, and Diffie was like, I feel kind of bad for this guy. Like, clearly, he's been here for 2 weeks. He's already gotten fired from his job. Like, clearly, he is not equipped to be in the Alaskan wilds.
No.
So he invited him over to his condo. While there, Fontenberry stabbed Diffie 17 to 18 times and robbed him of his wallet, ATM card, and a 9mm handgun. The next day, Fontenberry used Diffie's ATM card to withdraw $400.
Oh my God. Suspicious.
Yeah. So now, by this point, authorities have found this Subaru in the parking lot. They were able to sort of like pinpoint Fontenberry in connection with Darren's car, figured out that he fucked off to Alaska.
On the trail.
And so at this point, he is like being heavily surveilled.
Yes.
But they did
Not heavily enough.
Yeah, right. He still murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Like he still murdered another person. Meanwhile, Diffie's coworkers filed a missing persons report after he had not reported to work in 2 days.
Sounds like such a nice guy.
Police finally made their move 3 days after Diffie's murder, arresting Fontenberry in his hotel room, where they also found Diffie's ATM card.
Well,
which is,
yeah.
It's like, okay.
There you go.
So we're not wrong.
Right. Right.
We're not wrong.
Oopsies.
He was immediately taken in and interrogated, where he confessed to 6 murders, including one that had already been solved.
Really?
In 1984, a 25-year-old homeless man named Richard F. Combs was stabbed to death in Roseburg, Oregon. 28-year-old Michael T. Collier had confessed to this crime, pleading guilty, and was sentenced to prison time. But since his conviction, Collier had recanted his confession. Fonberry claimed that he had met Combs in the park and the two of them started drinking. In a fit of rage, Fonberry stabbed him in the throat and dumped his body on the freeway. But after investigating his claims, authorities abandoned that line of inquiry.
What?
So it sounds like he could just be...
He was just taking...
He might have just been taking credit for that one.
Right.
Yeah, because he confessed to 6. I'll tell you now, again, a little bit of a spoiler, he only gets convicted of 3.
So he might have been being like delusions of grandeur.
Could be.
Which is very common in psychosis.
Yeah. And frankly, it was a murder that happened in an area he was, I think, that he could have been in, because he spent a lot of time in Oregon. But was he there at that time?
They drive so much that it's hard to keep track. That makes sense.
Yeah. Which is why highway killers so often get away with it.
Yeah.
You ever look at that map? We've talked about that map before.
Yeah. Yup.
Makes me never want to take a road trip.
Yeah, fuck a road trip.
I love a road trip, though. You're coming off the back of one with your kids. I'm talking about with friends.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that.
With adults.
Yeah, that sounds good. No screaming. Me not having to pick flashcards up off the floor every 5 seconds.
Oh my God,
Deal.
yes. So there was also a point in time where Fontenberry was considered in the Dr. No murders.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But he was later cleared. It was like a very quick, like, well, yeah, he was not Dr. No.
Yeah.
Which I feel like happens when you get somebody like this who has committed multiple murders, frankly, and you have all of these unsolved cases. You do want to, you want to look at every possibility.
It's good,
so,
but
yeah, it was very quick.
Sounds like a fuck up.
So it's like, let's look at him for this. And actually, he's not. It's all good.
Yeah.
Thornberry was held on a $1 million bail that was later increased to $3 million after he was charged with additional crimes. While he was in custody, Thornberry attempted suicide, but he was found before he died. So he was eventually able to go to court. Well, obviously, there is this issue of multiple murders happening in multiple states. And in this case specifically, I find it really interesting because none of the murders cross state lines. So it's not a federal matter. It's an individual. It only becomes federal if the bodies cross state lines. So like if you commit a crime here and then travel elsewhere, it's a state crime.
Interesting.
But if you are committing a crime during your travel across states, that is. So that's why like kidnapping sometimes becomes a federal crime. Because if you like
so interesting.
kidnap somebody in Illinois and then travel to California with that person,
then it's federal.
That's federal. Because it's over multiple states.
Matters with Vicky.
So
I didn't know that shit.
Yeah. So they have to sort of like figure out like, okay, he's committed crimes in multiple states. There's always this question of who will be the first state to get a crack at trial. And depending on the state, depending on the person, like there is a little bit of cooperating between states, and that has to happen to like sort of figure this out. So in this case, Alaska went first, indicting Thornberry for the murder of Diffie, as well as first-degree robbery and possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose. Thornberry agreed to plead guilty to the murder charge in exchange for the other charges being dropped. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison because Alaska does not have the death penalty.
Okay.
Which I think is part of the reason they went first, is because they actually do not have the death penalty. And so he was sentenced to 99 years in prison and then immediately extradited to Ohio, where there is the death penalty.
Oh, shit.
So there, he was given the death penalty for Darren's murder and then sent to death row, where he kind of hung out for a little bit. But then later the same year, Thornberry was extradited to New Jersey, where he pled guilty to Farmer's murder and was given life in prison in New Jersey. No death penalty. But he does get transferred back to Ohio because they have a right to carry out their sentence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So thanks to this death sentence in Ohio, they do have an automatic appeals process. It's a very common thing with death sentences. So there were a few automatic appeals to the courts, but none were successful. And finally, on July 14th, 2009, Thornberry was executed by lethal injection at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility.
Wow.
Yeah. So
John, that was a lot of crimes, John.
That's the story of John Thornberry.
John.
He dead now.
You know what, John?
John! Oh, John.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit a Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake. From choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, so you picked highway crimes.
No, I picked highway killers. Let's not get it twisted.
Oh, I'm about to twist it.
I know.
I twisted it all up. What a great topic. So when you think of highway crimes, don't worry, I'll tell you guys why we're laughing. I'll let you in.
Yes.
When you think of highway crimes, you think of a modern landscape, long rolling lanes of asphalt designed to help transport us where we need to go. And there are so many examples. The 1970s has a lot of good sort of like highway murder cases, as well as focusing on truckers, which is what you did. But I didn't do that because what I did was misunderstand the topic.
Yes.
Yes. So, you know, there might have been a little bit of inebriation happening when you were texting me.
She told me this before we started recording, and I was like, oh my God, Rachel.
I was like, she's going to make me go home.
So I want to specify, I did say highway killers, but now we're talking about highway crimes. So,
you know, what's a little gray area between friends? So I misunderstood through my haze of inebriation, and I was like, oh, like the highwayman. Like, you know, like old timey, meh, give me your, you know, unhand your doubloons, rides a dark horse at night and stabs travelers, etc. So,
yes, yeah.
So our story takes us back to the 1500s, to a time when roads were paved not with asphalt, but with simple packed dirt, and the dreaded Cybertruck was but a distant nightmare far on the temporal horizon. No cell phones, just people living in the moment.
Did you ever get around to watching that Noel Fielding series, The Completely Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin?
No, but I know
that's a Highwayman series.
I want to watch that.
So good. It's so
I love
good.
Noel Fielding.
But that is this. Like it is like horse and carriage.
Oh yeah.
Like
that was like
people jumping out of the woods with like
and see that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But then yesterday when I was looking back at our text, I was like, oh, she didn't mean that.
That's not what
but
she
by
meant.
that
It's
time
fine.
I'd already done my homework.
It's
so
okay.
Lock in and get ready to hear about something completely fucking different.
Oh my God.
I mean technically this still qualifies. It's just that highways didn't exactly exist. They weren't like ye old toll booths or whatever. I was down as hell though, like awesome, like highwaymen, very vintage. So I started looking into some old timey examples. I did this on my laptop, but honestly, audience, you should picture me rolling out dusty manuscripts in some like ancient library. I just want to be Rachel Weisz from The Mummy.
Oh, I see.
You know, with all my research.
Okay.
This goes back to the 1500s, so you know, I'm like blowing dust off stuff, like so dusty.
Just inside the books, why? That doesn't even make sense.
I know, it really doesn't. No, I'm thinking like
if they were closed.
Scrolls.
Yes.
Well, honestly, the dust inside a lot of the time was because bookworms would like eat. So it wasn't
gross.
like dust, it was like
nasty bookworms.
Book poop. Book poop. So pretending that I perfectly understood the topic and this was your plan all along, let's learn about the sometimes confusing, always fascinating, and very slay life of Mary Frith.
Okay, a lady.
Yeah, not
Bring
a
in the
highway
lady.
man, but a highway woman. Yes.
Woman.
Slay. So London, 1585 or 1586, our dear Mary was born to a simple shoemaker and his wife. But from an early age, it was clear that Mary, like mid-2000s Miley Cyrus, could not be tamed. And she came in like a wrecking ball, growing up so rowdy and unladylike that a relative of hers, I think one of her uncles, actually tried to ship her off to the Americas.
Oh, cool.
Which was like super
Great.
common.
Awesome.
It was like, oh, go be an indentured servant.
Yeah.
You're a girl, so bye.
I love this. You know, I gotta say, the English.
Yeah.
I have a qualm with you. You
me?
started this. No, not you. Like with the English.
Oh, the English.
One of many.
Well,
One of
like
many.
35%.
Yeah.
English,
First of all, Merca. We hate the English. No.
No.
But they really fostered this culture of just sending your kids away.
Yeah.
They're just
bye-bye.
like, we can't deal with you.
See you later.
Boarding school, indentured servant. Like,
Yep.
go to the mines.
Which
like
is
what?
disgusting. The children yearn for the mines.
Yes.
Which is horrible. And it's like, it's not even her dad. It's her uncle. So he's like, anyway, see you later. Go be a servant. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
That's all you
Peace
can
out.
do in
I don't
your
want
life.
you anymore.
Bye. Love you. But Mary was like, so obviously details are a little tricky because it was so long ago, but allegedly she was on board the ship as it's going and they had told her something else. Like, oh, you're just going to something you want to go to. And then it was like, oh, this is
so they
for the
lied
Americas,
to her to get her on
which was
the
also
boat.
very common. Yes.
Cool.
And allegedly she leapt from the side, swam her way back to the dock and never talked to that uncle again and just continued like being a bad bitch.
I mean, badass.
She was like, I'm not going to that.
Badass.
Which also was very uncommon for people to be able to swim back then.
Especially women, probably.
Especially women, because
Yeah.
you had to be in a state of undress. And Mary did not wear dresses.
No, pants.
Ever.
Pants on the way.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Mary continued to do whatever the hell she wanted, and a big part of that was how she chose to dress. Needless to say, the layered dresses of the time were simply not slay enough for Mary, who preferred to dress in a doublet and breeches, which was seen as incredibly scandalous.
What is a doublet?
A doublet is like those like tight leather vests.
Oh, sort of like the corsety vest type things,
Kind of,
but
for
not
guys.
corsets. Okay.
Yes, they're on the outside.
Oh, like a double button.
Yep,
Down the
and
middle.
you can keep
yeah.
like your knives and your little pouch. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm with you.
Guys' clothes, and a lot of the depictions.
So that is actually
of her,
men's clothing.
Absolutely. And she would wear
Okay.
men's boots. She would wear. There's like a ton of pictographs of her. I love that. Like I know it's not like that etching, kind of like the carving. The way
Yeah.
that those like old 1500, 1600 like art. The way that looked. I
Yeah.
love that. Very Salem witch trials, even though that's a
Yes.
totally different area.
Yes.
But she was always wearing like one of those big wide brimmed hats.
Okay.
And she was
one of
also
those.
dubbed, you will love this, I also love it. She was also dubbed the first female smoker in England. So let's hold space for that.
I will. I
Yes.
definitely will. That's amazing.
Isn't she great?
I love that. I love that.
So later in England, especially in like the Victorian era, everyone was encouraged to smoke. It wasn't just like a guy's thing anymore.
Yeah.
Which led to a lot of women dying because pipe ash would fall on their giant dresses and they would catch on fire.
Oh
and they
my
were in
God.
so
Oh
many
yeah, because this wouldn't have
layers.
been like rolled cigarettes necessarily.
Correct.
It would have been pipe tobacco.
Correct. And even when it was rolled, the embers would fall
Yeah.
and they wouldn't be able to
Fucking
get
dresses.
them out of the dress.
Always causing too many
fast enough.
problems.
Right. Which is why they made them yeah.
To literally cage women.
Correct.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it here.
I hate it here. She carried a super cool, like long tobacco pipe with her around at all times.
Like a Gandalf pipe?
Yes.
Type thing? Okay.
And it was kind of seen. So like I read a bunch of like old, like Shakespeare-y, news articles from the time.
Yeah.
And her whole thing was so scandalous. She was seen as being like really perverted because she like dared to dress as a guy, even though when you would actually talk to her, she said that she was uninterested in sex. She wasn't like some like crazy, like, deviant or whatever.
Yeah.
But
she's like, I'm just out here trying to vibe, do my thing.
she's like, I'm chilling. I don't want to be limited.
She sounds like my spirit animal.
Isn't she amazing? I love her already. I literally love her. I think she's hysterical. But it was seen as being like phallic for her to have this long pipe. They're like, ew, she's sticking it in her mouth, like a dick. I'm like, could you guys calm down a little bit?
These are probably the same people who would be like, I would never eat a popsicle because it looks like a penis.
Oh my
Like I won't eat a
God.
banana because did you ever see the episode
Yes.
of Metalocalypse where he like won't eat the quote unquote dick shaped foods? That's what I'm
show
thinking.
ever.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Love that
Murder
show.
face not wanting to eat death shaped foods.
So funny. That is such a good show. Please watch. I'm going to watch that later. I love that show so much. But literally, it's like, could you guys all relax? Like,
Right.
It has nothing to, whatever. But of course, she knew that and then would just kind of like get longer pipes.
Yeah.
She was like, fuck you. She thought the whole thing was funny. It was totally unheard of for a woman to smoke. So
Yeah.
she's just this like super cool.
I love that.
I know.
Love that.
Mary, living in the more impoverished areas of London and coming from humble beginnings, fell into the wrong crowd and then promptly began to rob them, which I love. She was an accomplished pickpocket, said to be extremely adept at cutting the bottom of rich people's purses and catching the bags of coins without making a sound. Because all of these pickpockets were pretty much guys.
Yeah.
So, they're lumbering around tackling people, but she's a nimble lady.
Yeah.
They made a lot of,
Very Oliver Twist.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, I know I'm stupid, but I was like, oh, cut purse. You cut the purse.
Cut purse. Is that
They would call her nickname later was Moll, which Molly is a nickname for Mary originally. Isn't that stupid? But a moll, M-O-L-L, if you've ever heard like a gangster's mall.
No.
That's like girl gangster. It's like a bad girl. Oh, you're a Moll. You hang around with these guys. So she was Moll the cut purse. Cut purse is like an old, like you're a thief.
Okay.
You're a blackguard. You're a cut purse. And
Gotcha.
I'm like, oh, cut
I've never
purse.
heard the term cut purse before.
It's very like piratey.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. So, very literal. During this time of her life, she was said to have been arrested many times and even obtained a physical sign of her thieving ways, which was 4 burns upon her hand.
Okay.
So it was like super visible. That was how police commonly punished thieves. Like, oh, we'll let you go, but we're going to make sure everybody knows that you're
It's like
a thief.
the Scarlet Letter.
Exactly.
I'm sorry that I have now brought up the Scarlet Letter twice today.
Do we have to watch the Scarlet Letter
I
now?
realized the first time was not during when we were recording, but I've never talked about the Scarlet Letter so much in my life, and it is my least favorite thing. But that is the only thing that I can think of.
Very boring book.
Yes. Oh my God, awful.
It's
right up there with the Crucible.
Oh,
or like Johnny
yeah.
Tremaine.
Man, how could the Crucible is like the subject matter is so fascinating. How did they make it fucking boring?
Because they wrote it old timey.
Yeah,
it was written
but
in old
even
times.
Like plays and stuff, I'm like, oh, it's boring.
Yeah, I was not.
So
Scarlet Letter was. I did not do well in that section of English in high school.
It just makes me
was
think of
really
Easy
bad.
A, how hot Demi Moore looked in the bathtub scene of the movie.
Oh my God,
I love Easy A. Something else she was put through. So this was like, they would, back in the day, they would lock you in jail, but a lot of the time they would kind of let you out. It was a lot more informal.
Yeah.
So something else they would do would be to put you through what was called penance, because it was such a religious society in which one had to don a white shift or like a nightgown and stand up on a little stage in town and proclaim how sorry you were from stealing from the rich and dressing like Billie Eilish.
Very shame.
Right. Shame. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In this particular instance, she was accused of being a prostitute, which was probably not true.
Okay.
Based on like everything I've read, I don't think she was doing that at all.
All right.
But she was probably hanging around with people who did that, which will also become clear later.
Yeah.
Passerby watched the young Mary, because she was like a teenager, and were moved by her performance as she clutched her hands and wailed her regretfulness. But we have a little thing. So there's a historical guy called John Chamberlain, a local man whose many letters have been preserved for history. So he's kind of used as like a time capsule because he had a lot of relatives and friends who lived far away from him. Mm-hmm. So his letters have sort of been kept as like a picture of the time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so historically he's kind of like a well-known guy because he was just very truthful, as far as, which is really nice. So he witnessed this performance and wrote, "She wept bitterly and seemed very penitent, but it is since doubted, since she was maudlin drunk, that being discovered to have tippled off 3 quarts of sack." Which means she was off her ass.
Yeah.
So she was just stumbling around being like, "I'm so sorry.
That's so funny. Because also, like, even if you're going to fake it, it's probably not going to be believable. But at least if you're drunk, it's believable.
Oh, yeah. And people were watching and like crying and being like, "Let her go."
Yeah. Look at how sorry she is. Nah, she just wasted.
These performances, drunk or not, definitely drunk, definitely made an impression on people one way or another. And some people who noticed were in fact local playwrights. There have been 2 plays. Well, there have been more now, but there were 2 plays during her life that were written and performed about her. One has been lost. The other one you can find.
Oh, cool.
Which is Moll Moll the Cut Purse has been lost. They called it the Roaring Girl. They would call like Oliver Twist and all these like gangs of boys they were roaring boys. Yeah. It had never been applied to a woman.
Very cool.
The play was a smash hit, drawing references to her criminal behavior, which you'd think would have made Mary nervous or upset. But it was not so, for she ended up literally starring in the fucking play.
That is hilarious.
She would.
How often would you get to star in a play about your own life that somebody else wrote?
It's just so funny to me that she's like actively running from the police. And then she's like, oh, let me hide from these police. Let me go in the stage door. And then she's on stage like, I did that shit.
Yeah. But also like, it's like hiding in plain sight, right?
Exactly.
Like no one would expect she'd play herself.
So funny. And she also played a lute and would sing lewd songs to the audience and entertain them. And everybody just loved her. So
it makes you wonder if the playwright contacted her or if she went to him and was like, let me do this.
So she was quite the businesswoman. So I think it probably was a little column A, little column B.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting. That's so funny.
Because with her being so connected as she was through the criminal underworld, and London's small.
Yeah.
I think that those playwrights, if she really would have been pissed, I don't think that would have gone on for very long.
Yeah.
I think they would have been in the Thames. So she didn't always star in it, but she would make like guest appearances and stuff. But like the play went on for like a long time. Very, very popular.
That's funny.
Isn't she great?
Yeah.
By the 1620s, Mary had kind of changed career paths. Not that she'd given up being a criminal, but she'd evolved from street thief into fencing. Not the like sword fighty fencing, but the transfer and sale of stolen goods.
Right.
She was so familiar with the criminal underworld that she was excellent at this job, and it was considered much safer than having to be on the streets. She also decided to become a pimp. She was keeping the pimp hand strong, which we love.
Nice.
She did, of course, do the traditional thing of like gathering women to have sex with men. She was kind of like the middleman, you know, oh, I'll get you girls for this, girls for that. But her main business was getting, quote, high class, respectable men to bang bored middle class housewives.
Nice.
So she was like having all these gigolos.
I love that.
She was even involved in a court case because this was like later. A woman who had been one of her clients procuring sexy men's had died, and on her deathbed, because this was so shameful, she was like, I cheated and the children aren't my husband's and they're these prostitute men. And so she went to her sex worker clients and was like, you better give those kids some money because you know they're your kids and I know they're your kids. You better go over there and settle it. I'm not having this. She was like, you better send your child support. She's like, go take care of business.
She really was just like bucking all gender roles.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Iconic. Now, her official highway woman status, slay, was cemented during the years of the British Civil War, where she took to the roads and like sort of the moors, taking advantage of all of the rich people having to travel due to the war.
This is the jumping out of the bushes part, right?
This is the jumping out of the bushes. Yes, she's hiding in the misty moors and jumping out, stab, 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 give me your money.
Yes.
The numbers of like how many people she may have killed, all of that stuff is very murky. And because of the plays, she's sort of this Robin Hood-esque character where it's like, what did she do? What didn't she do?
Yeah.
But she definitely was a highwayman and stole shit from people.
Yeah.
So I murder, I'm not 100% sure.
Sure.
But killing and stealing,
yes.
yeah. She did it slayly. She was a fearsome opponent, not shy with her pistols. The description of, so obviously she did like pretty well because the description of her home in London is like ritzy. It was kind of a joke because she dressed and acted so much like a guy, but her home inside was very feminine.
Yeah.
And she was just like, la, 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 like just fresh flowers and everything.
Listen,
she had
girl knows what she likes.
3 personal maids. Which also added to the rumors of her possibly dabbling in both sexes, which I love. Very sexy maids.
Very nice.
So she must have been rolling in the Benjamins or whatever.
Yeah.
She robbed a famous General Fairfax, and shot him in the arm during the Civil War, which was fabulous because she was so weird. She was a royalist. She like loved the monarchy, which I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
And he was like of the opposition. So she took great pleasure in robbing him of all of his money.
Oh, good.
Which is great. I'm sure she like saw his like thing, his like little carriage come up and she was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna
get
you.
That's
idiot.
hilarious.
So after her exciting highwaywoman sleigh, which she was probably she was middle-aged by this time.
Damn, so she was like doing this her entire life.
Oh, this was her life.
Yeah.
So like she was just doing all kinds of like criminal shit.
Because how old was it when she like jumped off the boat? How old was she? Was she like
probably
in her teens?
Like 14. Yeah, probably pretty
young teens.
And she was really young when she was doing all of the like cut purse stuff. And when the play came out, she was probably 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super, super young. So by this time, when she's getting into sort of maybe the autumn of her life or the winter, because this is the 1500s, it was finally kind of catching up to her.
Yeah.
She had been in and out of prison a couple times. And then finally she was interred at the Bethlehem Hospital after being cured of insanity. Hey, it's cured. She's like, no, I'm fine.
Oh, God.
She probably was
what
like,
does that even
I don't want to dress like a guy.
mean?
I love skirts.
Yeah.
I love Barbie movie. I love it. And then she went out and like put her pants back on. She's like, fuck
Sure. So like somebody put her in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So that's unprecedented. You're cured of insanity. So what did she tell them? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then for shooting General Fairfax, of which she was like, yeah, I did that. And I'll shoot the motherfucker again. She was at Newgate Prison, was about to be hanged, but she was like, I'm actually literally rich. So here's like 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
And then she just walked home.
Sick.
She was like, see you later. She finally died of what was called dropsy, which sounds cute, but really is just edema, which is like fluid retention.
Yeah.
On 26 July in 1658 on Fleet Street in London. So she was probably about in her 70s. So she lived like a really long life, which is cool.
Yeah.
You can still, I'll post it in the show notes, you can still read the script for the play that's about her, the one that hasn't been lost. And there's also, as I was reading this, I realized that a series of books that I read when I was younger is probably almost certainly based off of her life.
Oh, how funny.
They're called Bloody Jack by L.A. Meyer. They're really cute. I'll link those too. But there's a ton of stuff that I didn't go into because we wouldn't have time.
Yeah.
Her getting arrested for public indecency, for dressing like a guy. She was like a great prankster and would, put gunpowder in people's pipes and stuff.
Funny. Oh my God.
One time she lied and said that she stole this record-winning horse to race across town. And oh my God, she's just a stitch. So please look up Mary Frith.
Oh, I love that.
If you need a chuckle because she's fabulous.
I love that.
Fabulous.
I
Highway
love that.
woman, feminine slay.
Yeah. Oh my God.
She would have loved Chapel Roan.
Oh my God. You realize we are adults, yes? Like we are adults. Yeah. I had a conversation with a friend of mine's younger brother who is like in his 20s. So a full generation younger. And I was like, are there ever moments where like I come over to hang out with your older siblings, right? And you look at us and you're like, damn, like what are these old people even talking about? And he was like, oh yeah, there's definitely moments.
I love the generation.
We are those
divide.
old people. When you say shit like that, I'm like, oh God,
slay,
I've turned into my
slay.
parents.
Slay queen.
On that note, before you decide to become a highwayman or a highway killer,
Slay.
either one,
Slay.
why don't you check out this podcast?
My name is Hunter.
And I'm Haley, and we're your hosts of
Murder and Such, a podcast about true crime, serial killers, and other dark subject matter. Join us while we fill your ear holes with some crappy comedy and disgusting tales.
You can now find us on Spotify,
iTunes,
Stitcher,
Podbean,
and all of your podcatcher services. You can like us on Facebook, Instagram, and follow us on Twitter.
at Murder and Such.
Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, Rachel, that has been our show.
It sure has.
Another one in the books.
Another one back.
If you like this episode and you want to hear more like this, you can find those at badtastepodcast.com, where we have links to all of our episodes, merch store, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But also, I just want to put out there that the things with YouTube have changed recently in the way that we distribute our show. So if you are a person who listens to the show on YouTube itself, give me a little bit, because I am trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out.
We've got our tech team on it as we speak.
It's me. It's me. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't know these changes were happening. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But I see you. I recognize you. And I am working to fix the situation.
Hear you.
Try really hard.
Love you.
Yes. Do you have anything to say before we close out the show?
No.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, our sound and editing is by Tiff Fullman. Our music is by Jason Zashevsky, the Enigma. This has been the Bad Taste Crime Podcast. We will see you in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Bye.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.